He didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He didn't fight back. The old man just stood there while a younger man stepped into his space, pointing at his chest and humiliating him loud enough for everyone to hear. People watched. Some shifted uncomfortably. Most did nothing. The old man reached into his pocket with shaking hands, trying to prove he belonged there. But the humiliation had nothing to do with money. It was about power. And what happened next would make everyone in that room realize a big mistake had just been made. The restaurant was busy that afternoon, full of overlapping conversations and clinking dishes. Laughter bounced off the walls. Phones lit up faces. No one noticed the old man when he first walked in. He paused just inside the entrance, holding the door open a moment longer than necessary, as if making sure he wasn't in anyone's way. His jacket was clean but clearly worn. The fabric at the cuffs had faded over time. His shoes were old but polished, taken care of by habit, not vanity. He looked around slowly, carefully, scanning the room for an empty chair. There was one near the wall. As he took a step toward it, a chair scraped loudly across the floor. "Hey!" The word cut through the noise. The old man stopped and turned. A younger man had stood up from a nearby table. He looked confident, relaxed, well-dressed. His friends sat back, watching with interest, already smiling. "What do you think you're doing?" the younger man asked. The old man blinked, surprised by the tone. "I'm just looking for a place to sit," he said quietly. The younger man laughed, loud enough to draw attention. "This place is packed," he said. "You can't just walk in here and take up space." The old man felt heat rise to his face. "I don't need much," he replied. "Just a coffee." The younger man stepped closer, invading his space, lowering his voice just enough to sound more serious. "This isn't some shelter," he said. "People come here to relax." Nearby conversations began to fade. A woman near the counter paused mid-sip. A man at another table glanced over, then looked back down. "I can pay," the old man said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not asking for anything free." The younger man smirked. "You're making people uncomfortable," he said. "Can't you tell?" The words landed hard. The old man looked around the room, hoping for a sign of understanding. No one met his eyes. Some people stared at their plates. Others pretended to scroll through their phones. He nodded slowly, as if confirming something he already knew. "I didn't mean to bother anyone," he said. He turned slightly toward the door. That should have been the end of it, but the younger man wasn't finished. "You people are always the same," he said loudly, "acting like you belong wherever you walk in." The room went silent. The old man froze. For a moment it looked like he might respond, like he might finally say something. Instead, he reached into his pocket. His hands trembled as he pulled out a few folded bills, creased and worn. He held them up, not proudly, but defensively, as if proving a point no one had asked him to prove. "I just wanted to sit down," he said softly. The younger man rolled his eyes. "Then hurry up and leave," he snapped. "You're embarrassing yourself." The old man's hand dropped to his side. The bills shook between his fingers. A tight pressure formed in his chest, the familiar weight of being seen as less, of being judged before being known. He took a breath. "I'll go," he said, and he meant it. He turned toward the door, his shoulders slightly hunched, his steps slow and deliberate. No one stopped him. No one said a word. As his hand reached for the door handle, a calm voice broke the silence from behind the counter. "Is there a problem here?" The old man paused. The room seemed to hold its breath. Everyone turned toward the counter. The manager stood there quietly, one hand resting on the edge of the counter, his expression calm but focused. He hadn't rushed over. He hadn't raised his voice. He looked like someone who had been watching for a while. The younger man straightened his posture, a confident smile returning to his face. "Yeah," he said. "There's a problem. This guy was causing a scene." The manager didn't respond immediately. His eyes moved to the old man standing near the door. "Sir?" he asked gently. "Are you okay?" The old man hesitated, his hand still on the door handle. "Yes," he said. "I was just leaving." The manager nodded once, then shifted his attention back to the younger man. "What exactly did he do?" the manager asked. The younger man shrugged. "He walked in like he owned the place," he said. "Made people uncomfortable." The manager glanced around the room. No one spoke. No one confirmed the story. No one disagreed. The silence stretched. "I've been standing right here," the manager said calmly. "I watched everything." The younger man laughed lightly. "Then you know I was just being honest." The manager took a slow step forward. "What I know," he said, "is that he didn't raise his voice. He didn't demand anything. And he didn't bother anyone." The younger man's smile tightened. "This is ridiculous," he said. "He doesn't belong here." The manager's eyes hardened slightly. "That man," he said, nodding toward the old man, "comes here almost every morning." A few people shifted in their seats. "He orders a coffee," the manager continued, "sits quietly, reads, and leaves without ever causing trouble." The younger man opened his mouth, then closed it. "He volunteers across the street," the manager said, "at the community center, 5 days a week." A low murmur passed through the room. "He helps serve meals. He cleans. He listens." The old man stared at the floor, uncomfortable with the attention. "And he tips more than most people in this room," the manager added. The younger man's face flushed. "That doesn't matter," he said. "This is about standards." The manager nodded slowly. "It is," he replied. "And right now, you're the one failing them." The room was completely silent. "You humiliated him," the manager said. "In front of everyone." The younger man scoffed. "So what? I said what everyone was thinking." The manager looked around. "No," he said. "You said what no one else was cruel enough to say out loud." The younger man took a step back. "You're seriously taking his side?" The manager didn't hesitate. "Yes." A sharp breath escaped the younger man's lips. "You're making a mistake," he said. "I'm a paying customer." "So is he," the manager replied. "And he treated everyone here with respect." The younger man shook his head, incredulous. "This is unbelievable." The manager straightened his posture. "You're done here," he said. The words echoed. "What?" the younger man asked. "You're kicking me out?" "Yes." "For this?" "For humiliating someone who didn't deserve it," the manager said calmly. The younger man looked around, searching for support. His friends avoided his eyes. A woman at a nearby table crossed her arms. A man near the window stared straight ahead. No one spoke up for him. The younger man grabbed his jacket and pushed his chair back hard. "This place is a joke," he muttered. As he walked toward the door, he passed the old man. For a brief moment, their eyes met. The old man didn't look angry. He looked tired. The door closed behind the younger man with a dull thud. For a second, the room remained frozen. Then someone began to clap. Softly, hesitantly. Another joined in. Soon, quiet applause filled the space. The old man stood still, overwhelmed. "Sir," the manager said gently, "your seat is still available?" The old man looked up, unsure. "I don't want any trouble," he said. "There is no trouble," the manager replied. "Please." The old man released the door handle and turned back into the room. He walked slowly to the table near the wall and sat down. For the first time since he had entered, people noticed him. The restaurant slowly returned to life, but something felt different. Conversations resumed, though quieter than before. Chairs moved again, plates were lifted, yet an invisible weight lingered in the air, as if everyone was suddenly more aware of each other. The old man sat at the table near the wall, his hands resting calmly on the surface. He didn't look around. He didn't smile. He simply sat there, as if trying to understand how a moment meant to pass unnoticed had become something else entirely. The manager returned a few minutes later, holding a cup of coffee. He placed it gently in front of the old man. "On the house," he said. The old man looked up, surprised. "I can pay," he replied. "I know," the manager said softly. The old man hesitated, then wrapped his hands around the warm cup. The heat seeped into his fingers, easing the tension he hadn't realized he was holding. Nearby, a woman offered him a small, apologetic smile. A man at the next table nodded respectfully. No one said anything. But the silence felt different now. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was reflective. Across the room, the table where the younger man had been sitting remained half empty. No one rushed to fill the vacant chair. His friends sat quietly, avoiding eye contact with anyone else. The manager watched the room from behind the counter. He had seen moments like this before, moments when someone decided another person didn't belong, moments when cruelty tried to pass as confidence. Most of the time, those moments ended quietly. This one didn't. The old man finished his coffee slowly. When he stood up to leave, the manager noticed immediately and walked over. "I'm sorry," the manager said. "That happened." The old man shook his head gently. "It's not your fault," he said. "It happens more than people think." The manager frowned. "It shouldn't," he replied. The old man offered a faint smile. "No," he agreed. "It shouldn't." He reached into his pocket and placed a few bills on the table. The manager tried to protest, but the old man insisted. "Please," he said. "Let me." The manager nodded and stepped aside. As the old man walked toward the door, several people turned in their seats to watch him go. Not with curiosity this time, but with something closer to respect. He paused at the entrance, his hand resting on the door handle. For a moment, it looked like he might turn back and say something. He didn't. He stepped outside instead. The evening air was cool. The street was busy with people heading home, each wrapped in their own world. The old man adjusted his jacket and blended into the crowd, becoming just another face passing by. Most people would never know who he really was. They wouldn't know about the hours he spent volunteering. They wouldn't know about the people he helped quietly, without recognition. They wouldn't know how often he chose patience over anger. And that was fine, because dignity doesn't need an audience. Inside the restaurant, the manager cleared a few tables, his thoughts lingering on what had just happened. He glanced once more at the empty chair, and then looked away. The younger man believed power came from being loud, from being seen, from making others feel small. But power had shown itself differently that day. It showed up in restraint, in calm, in the courage to speak when silence would have been easier. Everyone in that room learned something, whether they realized it or not. Humiliation doesn't reveal weakness in the person being humiliated. It reveals character in the person delivering it. And silence, when cruelty is loud, is never neutral. The old man never raised his voice. He never defended himself. He never demanded respect, yet he walked away with more of it than anyone else in the room. And the man who thought he was untouchable? He walked out exposed.